What's cracking, guys? Bruce Mattson here, your host show of Metric Scout Fantasy Football. Today I have a different type of show for you guys today. We are going to go over a mock draft that has been recently released by ESPN. We're going to go over some of the skill players and just analyze how their fit would be for fantasy. If we go through that, just get an idea of what an actual draft would look like. And then later on, a few videos down the road, I'll do some other mock drafts, maybe from NFL.com, maybe Milk Hypers, some other ones. We'll just analyze those, get a good feel. Let me know in the comments what you think about some of these players, what you think about some of these fits that this mock draft has. You like it, you don't like it, are you bumping them up in value if they go to these places, or does it even matter? Drop some likes, 20 likes, and I'll find another mock to review. But let's dig into this mock draft. This mock is done by Jordan Reed from ESPN. It came out this morning, 6:45 a.m. Eastern Time, right after the Senior Bowl. So let's dig into all this. We're going to skip the offensive line, the defensive players. We're looking at the players that impact our fantasy teams. So we're going to go and stop at the first one. We're getting a lot of offense and defense early. First player drafted for us, for our sake right here, Malik Willis, quarterback from Liberty. Blew up at the Senior Bowl. Everybody knows that. Be going to the Carolina Panthers in this mock draft. Top 10 player. So when you say a quarterback gets drafted this high, top 10, pushing top 5, they're going to get value in Superflex. I see him at this spot. If he gets drafted to Carolina at the 106, I think a lot of people are going to be pushing for him to be the 101 in Superflex. And that's understandably. A lot of people are going to argue that as well. We've seen that all offseason. The key things to know here for Malik Willis, he's going to have DJ Moore to throw the ball to. He's going to have Christian McCaffrey to help smooth out those edges for him for his transitioning process. So this isn't a bad spot for him to go to. He's got a wide receiver. He's got a running back. He's got some other pieces in play. And usually when a team drafts their quarterback for the future, they're going to bring in some other pieces to help make it easier for him. So it would be interesting to see what the Panthers would do going forward. Would they bring in another wide receiver? Will they get some other running backs just in case something happens to McCaffrey? I know they've been pretty solid underneath for a team when they lose their stud running back, but getting another wide receiver would help them tremendously because they're Robbie Anderson now. And Terrace Marshall, what's going to happen with him? Is he coming back? Is he not? That deserves another video, so you better subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Moving on to the next player, next offensive player off the board for us to analyze in this draft. At 10 to the New York Jets is Garrett Wilson. He'll be paired with Zach Wilson. Wilson and Wilson connection. Haha, get it. I think that's an interesting proposition there. Wilson, as we knew from BYU days, the air yards was there when he was slinging it downfield. This could be a good, sneaky situation for Garrett Wilson. I think initially, when you gauge the market, a lot of people are going to be out on this. A lot of people are going to be thinking New York Jets, horrific offense, horrific program. When it comes to comparing him to other wide receivers, I imagine people are going to take a step back from Garrett Wilson. I think this is an all right spot. You got a wide receiver drafted here in the top 10. Good production throughout Ohio State. Good tape. It's going to be paired with a first-round quarterback. We'll see what would happen. But all in all, he's going to be paired also with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore in the slot. Elijah Moore working the outside. That could be a good pair, a good tandem for Wilson. They could be slinging the ball some more. I see some upside here. Do I love this situation? Not really. I don't really love it. Is it the best place for him to go? No, the Jets is never the best place for anybody to go. But it's here in the draft. I think I could live with it. I'm not going to be dropping him down to my rankings either because I know he's a talented player and talent above situation. As we scroll down, we see Kenny Pickett at 11. to the Washington Commanders. It's going to take me a few years to be able to say Commanders and not say football team, as it took me a few years to not say football team and not Redskins. It's just going to happen because you've been regurgitating these names every day on different websites for years, and now you got to change it. But Kenny Pickett here at 11. You got Terry McLaurin there. You got some other pieces. You got Curtis Samuel. You got Donnie Brown, who's developing. You got Antonio Gibson, who's got speed, can catch the ball in the backfield. You got J.D. McKissick. The team can also add more talent at wide receiver if they wanted to. Usually when you draft a quarterback this high, you add more talent at the wide receiver spot. That's just a trend. That's something you should do for your quarterback to help them transition. You need to add more O-line depth, as it says here on their biggest needs. Pickett here, it's a very questionable place for him to go. I don't like this for one of his top spots, but I think the worst place for him to go would be New Orleans, but they're not really in the spot to be able to get him. I don't love or hate this position for him. I think it's kind of iffy. However, if he hits, Terry McLaurin's going to be there to help fuel his production, which is good. He's got a running back that has 4.3 speed, good size adjusted speed, who catches the ball out of the backfield like a wide receiver. And Antonio Gibson, that could be a good pair. So if he hits his upside, if he starts developing, this could be a good spot for him. I can't say that this is a horrific place for him. I think this could be okay, just not sexy. Let's go back to Kenny Pickett. I had some more thoughts go through my head. Super flex value here. I think people are still going to value him pretty high because he's being drafted here at 11. A lot of mock drafts right now. A lot of them that's been going on through late December to early February had him going around the 15 to 20 range. I think the average in the mock draft database is around 13th. I just wrote an article on Kenny Pickett. And that being said, a lot of people just don't know how to gauge the market with him. I feel like if he gets the higher end draft capital and gets drafted out around 11, you're going to see him receive a bump in value in super flex. I think I did a mock draft where someone picked him without knowing where he's going at the 102 spot or 103 spot. So you're going to see him receive a bump in value. I see that happening pretty easily for Kenny Pickett if he falls to 11th spot, if he gets drafted this high. Moving on, and the next skill player off the board, we have Treylon Burks going to the Browns. Usually in a lot of mock drafts, he falls a little bit further in this. He's usually like the third or fourth wide receiver off the board, and you're like, what? And everyone's got him pegged. So I like this spot. I like how they got him mocked here. Second wide receiver off the board, 13 to the Browns. Again, this isn't the sexiest spot for a wide receiver. Low volume passing offense for right now. Doesn't mean it's not going to be like that in the future. Baker Mayfield's been highly questionable. However, he was a highlight reel coming out of college. Had some success during his first year. Admittedly, from wide receiver standpoint, didn't have the talent around him this year, and he's been hurt. So maybe getting a guy like Burks might help him out. You can also, contrary that, saying Odell Beckham was there. Odell Beckham wasn't doing anything, and then he went to the Rams and blew up. So this could be a questionable spot for Burks. Mayfield may not be there forever anyways. It could be the Russell Wilson show for all we know. But this is an opportunity for Burks to take over and be the wide receiver one for a team. There's an open spot for him to be the lead dog, to run the pack, to be the top wide receiver for the Browns. I can see that happening for Treylon Burks, and opportunity is everything for the NFL. If he's as talented as what we think he is, if he's on the field and he's getting targets, he should be able to produce. Moving on down here. And we should get another skilled player soon for us to look at. You guys can look at those picks. Bam, the Saints, Matt Corral. Ole Miss to the Saints, falling at 18. I guarantee it doesn't fall this far. I bet you one of these teams is going to have to trade up to get him. Someone's going to hold these guys over a barrel to make the pick. Someone, value-wise, that's just going to happen. That's just how real life goes. But New Orleans Saints drafting Matt Corral. It's a sticky situation. Saints is horrific against the cap right now. They're bad. They're just going to have to make some iffy decisions Wide receivers turning into a mess there. Michael Thomas isn't getting any younger. This isn't a great spot for him. It makes me question things during the early part of his career. I get it. A lot of us got him pegged as the QB1 in this class. This is mostly the fantasy community. I don't know if he's good enough to overcome a bad situation. I know he's got some good arm talent, but I also think he's not a generational talent either. I think you need a generational talent to go to a team that is this run down right now, that needs to do this big of a rebuild. The cap situation's scary. The wide receiver situation's getting kind of scary down there. They're really going to have to really retool to rebuild. Matt Corral, though, could be the piece for the future, but it's also an iffy situation. I think in Superflex, since people are gauging him as like the 101, 102 range, he may dial back some spots. This is where you may see people start drafting who would start drafting Treylon Burks, Isaiah Spiller, Breece Hall, some of those higher end skill players over him when they wasn't doing that previously. Honestly, if he falls back in drafts, becoming a value with him being here, even though it's super flex, I think that'd still be a good value because he's a quarterback. But you also got to think this could be a bad situation. And a lot of times when quarterbacks go to a bad situation, that's just enough to light them on fire. That just happens. We see that sometimes. But elite talents, they overcome that. So you just really got to see. Let's move down the board here. Sam Howell going to the Steelers at 20. Draft capital's not super high. Steelers need a quarterback. I imagine they're going to have to trade up to get their guy. There's no way anyone's going to fall this far to them. I get it. Defense, O-line's pretty good this year, but quarterback's a hard position to get. Maybe thinking for the future. It's always good to have an extra one. Maybe another team holds them over barrel and say, hey, you better trade up. You better trade up over the Saints or whatever. Sam Howell here to Pittsburgh. This is a good spot for him. If you like Deontay Johnson, if you like Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris and company, then this is a good spot for Sam Howell. He's accurate. He's mobile. He's quick to process his reads. He's not going to be considered perfect on tape, but he's good enough. He looked good at the Senior Bowl, especially in the game. He did have some questionable moments. His mechanics does go away from him, and you'll see that. You'll see him like raise his back foot and stuff off the release on his throws sometimes, but you'll also see him make big throws and big moments and sling the ball downfield. I think with these weapons around him could allow a guy like Howell to really develop. That doesn't mean he will, but again, with him being able to scramble, get you a little bit of rushing production, that could help you in fantasy. Rushing production is what you want with these quarterbacks. With him going to Pittsburgh, with him having these weapons around him, everybody's talking up Deontay Johnson right now. Everyone's doing that. And if you love Deontay Johnson, then you got to love it with the quarterback that goes there, or otherwise, why are you loving Deontay Johnson? So Sam Howell should get a decent bump in value in Superflex. He's been following in drafts. Well, sometimes he gets drafted really high. I saw him go 101 in a draft, but usually I saw him fall either in the middle or the late portions of the first round Superflex. We may see him get bumped up a couple spots here due to him being with Pittsburgh and his weapons. Let's move down here, see who else gets drafted. Drake London to the Raiders. They just lost Henry Ruggs. They need another wide receiver. Bryan Edwards isn't getting it done. We like Bryan Edwards on the channel because he's cheap. He was a third-round rookie pick to start. Stay at that price point overall. Had good market share numbers coming out of college. Good breakout numbers. But it's just not happening. They need to get that flanker. They need to get that alpha on the team. That Drake London could be that piece for them. I think this is a good spot. And he's also staying in his area. He's from USC, Las Vegas Raiders, not too far away from each other. I kind of like it when a player gets drafted in the same region because there's familiarity. Really smooths out the transition process for the young player. Derek Carr, if he likes him, if Drake London's doing good, he's going to get targeted. So I think this is a good spot for him. Moving on down. Chris Olave to the Titans. A.J. Brown is the alpha there. Julio Jones is also there. They need someone to stretch the field. Chris Olave is not an alpha. Chris Olave needs an alpha for him to be his best, especially at the NFL level. This could be a good pair for him. I don't know how great this is for fantasy, considering this is more of a low-volume passing offense with an alpha there, really willing to suck up about 30% target share, 25 to 30% or even more. So this may not be good for his fantasy outlook. This is probably more better for real football, but with his skill set, he could also hit here. The Tennessee Titans are eventually going to open up the playbook somewhere down the line in the future. Can't stay low-volume passing offense forever. We got a sexy pick here at 30. Jamison Williams to the Chiefs. We're getting some more speed on the Chiefs offense. This makes sense because the Chiefs like to draft speed. Tyreek Hill, Mecole Hardman. They want speed down the field. They want to run it up down the field like a high school basketball game. Jamison Williams, 4.3 speed. This is a good fit. Gives them something different. A guy with some ball skills. A guy that can take it home after the catch. And he's really going to be an upgrade over Mecole Hardman. And he's going to be a good fit with Tyreek Hill. If he goes to the Chiefs, you're looking at a guy that is floating around the middle to latter portions of the first round, who could be fighting with Treylon Burks and the top wide receivers in this draft. Because we saw the same thing with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. We're going to see the same thing with Jamison Williams if this happens. And the thing about this is I like this better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. At least Jamison Williams, he's got the athleticism to go with it. He's going to be a first-round pick. He's been productive at Alabama for that 1 year, blew up. I like him better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming out as a prospect. I get it's apples versus oranges, but I like Jamison Williams here. Moving on down. Bengals, O-line. I think. I forget. Let's see here. Here we go. Last pick of the first round. And Detroit Lions are going with Jahan Dotson. Everybody loves Amon-Ra St. Brown. It's a good wide receiver. You're going to need to get more pass catchers in the offense. It's not a knock to him. Jahan Dotson could be a fit here. He could be getting targeted early. This ball's going to be spread around a bit. We got TJ Hockenson, DeAndre Swift. I'm not really paying up to get Dotson if he falls to Detroit at 32. I'm just going to feel out my draft. I still would probably take guys like David Bell over him. Let's move on down the draft here. We're in the second round now. A lot of defense and O-line. This is where the draft is strong at. Here we are, 38 to the Jets, Trey McBride. So the Jets in this draft, in this mock draft, are looking to get Wilson some weapons. Trey McBride might be the best pass-catching tight end in this year's draft. He's going to be the first tight end selected. We saw that at the Senior Bowl. He's blowing up, running routes. At the start of last week at the Senior Bowl, he was talked about as the best pass catcher there. Trey McBride is a good fit here in New York. Getting him, Garrett Wilson, they're just really improving this passing game along with Elijah Moore. Moving on down, next pick we see here, Chicago Bears, David Bell at 39, second round. Justin Fields is eventually going to get the keys to the car and they're eventually going to let him do his thing. He's going to take a step forward in his development. We started seeing him flash this year off and on. David Bell could be a good benefactor of that. You're talking about a guy who broke out at age 18 at Purdue, produced throughout his whole career there. I think this is a good spot for that, and I think Bears fans should be excited here. Moving on down the second round here. Again, this is a heavy defensive draft. O-line 2. Moving on down. Here we go. Desmond Ritter to Indianapolis. Not too exciting here. They need to improve some of the pass catchers too to fuel him. I like Michael Pittman. I think he's a very good wide receiver. I like that he would have Jonathan Taylor there to help his development. I think from a Superflex standpoint, I would not be running up at the podium to be drafting him in the first round. Second round, I feel good about this for him if he went to the Colts with this type of draft capital. I think he's a good developmental prospect. Wentz doesn't have it for the long term, and Ritter could really develop in there. And I imagine if they spend a second-round pick on Ritter, that they're willing to spend up and get more wide receivers to help him develop. Moving on down here. Haven't had a running back yet. We're due. Is it coming? We're about done with the second round. A lot of defense. Here we go. John Mechie to the Falcons. And what runs through my head when I see this pick is you're thinking Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, Alabama ties. Thinking more Alabama ties with John Mechie. John Mechie to the second round. I feel like this is a reach here. He's late to be productive. He's got the ACL injury. I get it. He's very detailed route runner. Sells routes. Get downfield. Made big plays over his career. I can't knock him on that. At this position to the Falcons are going to be rebuilding. Matt Ryan's not going to be there forever. What's quarterback going to be like? Kyle Pitts is going to steal a large portion of the targets. That's going to impact John Mechie in fantasy. Kyle Pitts is eventually going to be a 20-25% target share guy. That's going to be hard for other wide receivers in the offense to blossom, to be top-tier producers. When you have a tight end that's taking over targets, and if you have running backs that are taking over targets, that impacts those wide receivers. John Mechie, I'm not really in love with this. I'm going to allow people to draft him higher since he's been this high in the draft. Moving on down here. George Pickens to the Packers. A lot of things are running through my mind. George Pickens is one of my favorite wide receivers in this year's draft. Highly athletic. Can be an alpha at the next level. Can be a game changer. Aaron Rodgers is gone. What are they going to do at quarterback? Well, he's potentially gone, but I think he's probably going to be gone. We can probably agree with that. There's a good chance he's gone. He's not going to be getting Aaron Rodgers. Or maybe this is a ploy for them to try to keep Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. Like, here's George Pickens, probably one of the best wide receiver prospects you're going to have to work with outside like Devontae Adams, Jordy Nelson, and them. You got a guy on this echelon that you can work with again. We're building you back up. It's going to be interesting to see how this team works. He might be in a bad situation for a while. He might have the chance to really take over and be the alpha on that team, depending on if Devontae Adams decides to roll out and go his separate ways from the Packers. A lot of things that could go on with this ambiguous situation in Green Bay. Moving on here. First running back off the board, Isaiah Spiller to the Buccaneers. Fournette's not getting any younger. And the rest of the running backs on this group isn't that great. They need to really get a running back to take over the load. I guess Tom Brady's gone. So really focusing on the run game is what they want to do here. Not really in love with the pick. I feel like they can fill this need cheaper considering you got all these other running backs here that can do a little bit. Like, you just don't really need to have this luxury considering that you got to figure out quarterback. You got to figure that out. Tom Brady's gone. However, getting your running back for your new quarterback that you probably got in free agency is probably something you want to do. So I understand that. Again, Isaiah Spiller, one of the top running backs in this class, catch the ball in the backfield, team thick, can run it between tackles, good on that kind of stuff. I like him as a prospect. Again, for rookie draft value, it's not going to kill his value. First running back selected in the draft. Usually running backs with this draft capital get good draft capital in rookie drafts because they're going to get the opportunities to succeed early on in their career. Moving on down here. Who is the next one? Carson Strong to the Broncos. Perfect spot for him. I feel like he would be drafted earlier in the draft than this because people are going to hang him over the barrel once the other quarterbacks are off the board. But this is a good spot. You got Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Noah Fant. You got some running backs there with Javonte Williams and company. This is a good spot for a quarterback like him. He doesn't have the mobility, but he has the strong arm. Who needs a strong arm is Cortland Sutton. He's an air yards guy, downfield type of wide receiver. A guy like Carson Strong slinging bombs downfield is a match made in heaven. Honestly, I got him, 206, 207 in a Superflex mock draft the other day. It's on the channel. on video here. I feel like he's going to have a bump in value, maybe early second round super flex, rookie mock draft value, maybe back out the first round. He's going to have a pump in value if he's paired with these Broncos wide receivers. That's one of the landing spots we are looking for these quarterbacks. So whatever quarterback goes to Denver is going to have a bump in value, along with whatever quarterback that goes to Pittsburgh. And I think Carolina is a sneaky one as well. Moving on down, and I think that's it. That's it for this mock draft. Let me know what you think about these landing spots. Do you hate some of them? Do you feel like some of these guys are going to receive a bump in value? Do you think some of them aren't realistic? Let me know in the comments. But I want to thank you for watching the show, staying with me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. Every subscription fuels me to keep pumping out this content. Going over mock drafts, running mock drafts, analyzing tape, the metrics, the data, everything else. Again, I want to thank you, and I'll catch you next time.